Good morning. My name is Stephen Weaver, and I'm going to be your child's AP European History teacher this year. So basically, the purpose of this video is for me to tell you the most important things about my classes, get to know me a little bit, and hopefully answer some questions that you may have before you even have a chance to ask them. So here's just a little bit about myself. I graduated from Buff State, both with my undergraduate and master's degree in 2015 and then 2017. Before coming to Clarence High School a few years ago, I had a few teaching years in the city of Buffalo. You can see I spent 2 years at Riverside High School, another one at McKinley, and then I've been lucky enough to spend the last 2 years at Clarence High School. So this is the start of my third year. In addition to teaching at the high school, I am also the modified soccer and baseball coach. I try to be pretty involved. It's been wonderful getting to know this district. And to be honest with you, one of my favorite things about it is this AP European History class. It's my favorite class to teach. It's challenging. There's a lot of difficulties and challenges that come with it, but I really think that students, no matter how they do on that exam at the end of the year, come out better for it. So the first thing I want to talk about is remote learning. So this is going to be ongoing. There's three different groups of students. Obviously, one group that is entirely online, so not going to be coming into school at all, and then other students that come twice a week and check in on Zoom or whatever the other days they're not in classes. So here's how it's actually going to work for my class, and some of these are school rules that I have to abide to, but just to give you an idea about how it's going to work. So students that are not in the classroom with me that day, whether they're all remote and staying at home completely, or just it's their day to stay at home and not come in, students are going to need to check in during the actual time of class. So that is a school rule. They'll have to do that for all of their classes. Most times it'll be through a Schoology discussion post, a Zoom meeting, a Socrative, which is a website that I use for responses and things that your students become pretty familiar with. So I will go over all of this information specifically with students and how to access that and how to go through it. So the first week will be kind of a learning process just to get that stuff down. So in the classroom, I like to do a lot of projects, hands-on activities, simulations, and things like that to really kind of bring history to life, if you will. Unfortunately, this year, the desks are 6 feet apart. We're not allowed to share things. We're not allowed to touch the same things. There's big plastic dividers up between all the desks. So it's going to be a big change to how I normally teach this class. I think it's going to be a little bit more teacher-centered and probably a bit more of me talking, just because there's a lot less that it seems like you can do this year. But I'm going to always try to get your students involved and creative and trying to come up with different things to keep them engaged throughout the year, rather than having to just, listen to me talk through this video like you are. So how I plan on doing or running my class here is I am planning on making separate videos kind of like this for each of my lectures that I'm going to have in class, and then post them on YouTube. So it's not going to be a live recording of me while I'm up there teaching the class, but instead it might be that some days, but most days, the weekend before, I'll basically go through my PowerPoints and share my screens like I am now, and post them under the days the students need to watch them and have activities to go along with it. Sometimes they'll be working by themselves. Sometimes they'll be talking to me. Sometimes they will be, filling out like one of those discussion posts and interacting with other students. So when students are not in class, they will complete the work in the folder for that day under Schoology, which I'll show you, including watching that video, and it'll be under the week and day that it falls on. All assignments will be turned in through Schoology, usually through Google Doc or editing a PDF with an app called Kami, and I'll explain all of this to students because I realize they might have some applications or things that they're not used to using. So that's how it's going to look. They need to check in during that time. Sometimes they'll require it to be on Zoom. Other times, like when they submit things on Schoology, there's a timestamp on it. So I'll be able to see when they actually go in and do the work. And if they do the work during that time period, I mark them as present as we're going through. So that's more of like a school rule that they have to be on, that all teachers need to follow. And that's how it's going to work in my class. And if your student is completely remote, obviously they'll be able to see all of my teaching materials because I'm posting them on YouTube and underneath that folder. But of course, I will also have live check-ins as much as possible. I get Schoology notifications onto my phone. I respond to them almost instantly, usually. So the one thing that you need to know about me as a teacher is I'm going to do whatever it takes to help your child be successful. Because I take this exam, it kind of has a special place in my heart. I want to see students excel at something that's very challenging for them. So I'm going to exit out of this PowerPoint and go to my Schoology page. So this is what it's going to look like. You can see the assignments over here on the right-hand side, my contact information, office hours, a weekly schedule will be there for each one, what the different folders mean, a link to my Zoom meeting. So whenever I am getting on and students have to do that, the link will always be right there. General course information and resources, a lot of good stuff in there. That's again an overview of the class, my expectations, my syllabus in there. The really short summer work that I put in here, it's a small summer assignment. And then you can see I've started to work on different weeks of instruction leading up to the school year. Now, I've been playing around with a lot of different things. So if you see an assignment pop up and go away during the first couple of weeks of school, that's just me trying to get used to things and try out different things to see what works best. But this is obviously what my Schoology page looks like. So what do the students need? Obviously, any current readings and assignments. The one thing that I will say I am a little bit old school on is I like students to keep a notebook that they handwrite it out. There's a lot of content and information for this class, and I think it's super helpful for students to keep a notebook and actually write this out. So that's something I require. Usually I require a 3-ring binder, a small one for this class only. Honestly, most of our stuff is going to be digital online, so it would be good to have like a pocket folder, but I really don't think that you need a 3-ring binder for this course because a lot of the things that we do on paper is now going to be moved online to eliminate that need to hand things out. So grading policy, we do all sorts of stuff in here: homework, projects, essays, quiz, tests, anything that you can think of, and also participation grade. Again, taking this class is a challenge, and if I've learned anything from teaching it the past 2 years, it's the students that get involved in discussions and talk and take an active role in the class are the ones that really seem to do the best on the exam, and we'll look at some of those results in a minute. So students will not be penalized for late assignments if they're not in school. Usually late work will be accepted up to 2 days after the due date with a 10% penalty for each day. So if you hand it in, a day after it's due, if you can get up to 90% of credit, the next day 80%, and then after that not accepted. This is my normal policy. Obviously, with COVID, different things are going to come up. I'm pretty reasonable. I like to hold students to a certain standard to get them ready. This is, a college level class, but at the same time, I realize there's a lot of things going on. So as long as your student or you are communicating with me and letting me know what's going on or that an assignment's going to be late, I'm usually pretty lenient with it. But at the same time, I like to hold students to that standard. I will try to update the grade book daily, but assignments will be graded and for sure uploaded within 1 week of the due date. A lot of times a student will be absent or turn something in late, so they'll have a 0 pop up and it's not fixed the next day, and a parent is emailing me like, hey, my child sent this in. Everything for sure by Friday will always be updated. All that stuff will be on my Schoology page. Here I just have the different point breakdown. I don't do weighting, like it's not like tests are 75% of the score or anything like that. It's just all total points. So at the end of the year, add up all the total points that they earned out of the possible ones, and that's their average. So a little bit about the actual AP European history content. There's 4 different time periods we cover. It will have a focus, obviously, on European history in Europe, but Europe has interacted a lot with the rest of the world. So we do talk about pretty much every continent in this class, but always usually how it relates back to European history. Information about the exam. This year, as of now, the College Board exam is Friday, May 7th at noon. The exam price is $94 per exam. Don't freak out about that right now because the guidance department is going to send home a lot of information about that and go over how to sign up and so forth. One thing students will have to do is create an account with College Board. They're going to use that for my class as well, but we're going to walk through that all in class. This is what the exam normally looks like. You have 55 multiple choice questions in 55 minutes, 3 short answer questions in 40 minutes, a DBQ essay in 60 minutes, and a long essay question in 40 minutes. It's usually very long, over a 3-hour exam. It's pretty tough. And we look at the scoring down below. A 5 is the highest score you can earn, followed by a 4 and 3. These are all considered passing. Each college kind of has like a different requirement for what they accept. So if you get, some colleges will accept a 3 and you'll get the credit for taking European history course and you'll be able to take those credits with you. I would say that most universities accept anything that's a 4 or 5, but you can go on to that specific college, whatever colleges your child's looking at, to see what it is for them. And 1 and 2 are considered, not passing grades for this. So I like to be transparent. I realize as a younger teacher teaching a college course that parents can sometimes look and want to know, like, what are you doing to make sure my child is successful. So I like to show this. You can see my first year teaching, what our score was out of 5. So we averaged a 3.65 when the New York State average was below a 3, and the global average was also below that. 82.4% of my students scored a 3 or higher, which is great. So that was 2 years ago. And now last year, it's funny because I was hoping, this number would stay that high or go even higher. It's exactly the same, 82.4. You can see that, our group of students here was still higher than the New York average and the global average by a lot. That's not necessarily, because I'm doing something all these teachers aren't. It's because Clarence is a great school district, has a lot of resources. But I've really, really studied this exam, the questions they put on it to try and make your students successful. So at the end of the year, they come away with, credit towards college and saving some money and time in the future. If you have any questions about exam scores or anything like that, please reach out to me and let me know. So we go back to my Schoology course here. This is going to be really the main thing where everything is. We've covered remote learning. We've talked a little bit about the exam. We've talked about my class and how that's going to work. It's going to be a little bit of a, see how it feels as we go. I might need to make some changes, and obviously if I do, I'll make that known and on my Schoology page to both you and the students. But it's going to be challenging to try and change, the entire curriculum and only have students in none of the time or half the time, depending on which one you choose. But the one thing that I will say is I think your students made a great choice in picking this class. It's one of my favorites. I hope they find it as interesting as I do. And I'll be here to help any step of the way that I can. So if you have any questions, if your student has any questions, please never hesitate to contact me. The best way to do that for parents is right here on my Clarence email, sweaver@clarenceschools.org. For students, it's a Schoology message. Like I said, that goes right to my phone. As you can see here, I'm in an office, not in a classroom. I'm a traveling teacher, so I don't like to put a phone number down there because I'm in a lot of different classrooms, and the best way to reach me there is by email. But if you ever do want to have a conversation over the phone, that's fine too. I hope I've been able to answer a lot of your questions. If there's anything I haven't answered that you want to ask, please don't be afraid to reach out and introduce yourself. I look forward to meeting all the students soon. I look forward to conversating with you and hopefully a nice, successful year here at Clarence High School. So again, any questions, message me. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.